Skinner, Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane.
Hoorah!
Yeah, so we've gone traditional again. We're back to the A team. You can text us on 81215 if you have anything to say, even if you don't, really, to be honest. And you can follow us on Twitter at Frank on Absolute.
I would say that Twitter is the natural home for the people who don't have anything to say, but that would just be me.
We've got to change our attitudes to the social network.
Well, exactly.
Do we?
Yes.
All right.
We have had a text in. This is from Stuart, who says, "Hi Frank, I just wanted to say that thank you for telling my joke to Craig Revel Horwood on Room 101. Yes, it was me who sent it to you, and hearing you relay it to him really made my year. I can't believe you still remembered it. That is all. Stuart Letherland from Leicester."
Can I say that I did credit this?
Yes.
Don't get me down as a Joe Pasquale.
Oh, yeah.
I said that I didn't give
Don't
his
get
name.
anyone down as Joe Pasquale, in fairness.
But I said to Craig Revel Horwood that someone had texted in a joke about him for the radio show. So don't ever brand me as a joke thief. And it was the one about. It was about the fact that people. Why doesn't he use spray tan as much as he used to? Because people don't like orange Revels.
Oh.
It was. So I told him that, and I thought he'd be slightly delighted that he was
Right.
in a joke, that he'd become part of the oral tradition.
Oh.
Leaving. And he said, I actually find it very offensive. I mean, it was great.
Oh.
He really,
Great.
yeah, he took a guinea. That's what he did.
I think he'd have a hard trouble suing. Someone suggested I was orange.
Yeah. I read an interview with him when he said he's only ever used spray tan once in his life. But perhaps he means it's just perpetually on. It's like a car wash entrance to his house.
Or does
I
it
think
mean-
that might have been a Bill Clinton defence. What he means is he uses another form of tan.
But I liked him. He was very charming. And I met his mum after, and we talked about toilet paper for 20 minutes.
Really?
Oh, Aussie lady. Was she nice?
Yes, it was all about whether it should be pointing out or pointing in.
Oh, yeah.
Toilet
out,
paper.
Out from the wall.
Men think out, women think in.
Oh,
Is that
in.
right?
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
adjacent to the wall?
Yes.
No.
Oh, it's
silly.
tidier that way.
Yeah, because I think women feel the need to secrete, whereas we project.
Really?
Oh, God.
Anyway, that's my own psychological analysis. Those are not the official thoughts of Absolute Radio, if that's what anyone is thinking about. So yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Also, Frank, we've had another text in from Alison Marsh. There's a child I'm worried about because I just wanted to tell you that we love the show so much so. Sorry, praise slipped out there. So much so that my 13-year-old daughter has started coming out with Emilyisms. She tells her boyfriend and any other male they are filthy creeps.
Well, it's always. I mean, you're in with a shout with any mate.
Yeah. And often says, "Oh, that's right up your Stralza."
Oh, that's great.
And she's perfected my tone of voice.
Good.
Well, I'm seeing her as a sort of an Emily in waiting, because, let's face it, Emily won't be able to go on forever.
I will have to pass the mantle down, Frank.
Yeah, she could come in and shadow.
I'll have to pass the Hillary mantle down.
Wouldn't it be great to have this girl coming in and sort of watching you work and then gradually phasing her in?
Or we could open it up to a wider pool and do like a sort of Find Me a Dorothy, but we could
Yeah.
have some
Hang on,
kind
why
of
are you getting rid of
reality.
me?
Actually, I believe Craig Revel Hall would ask me to find him a Dorothy.
Also, just a PS there, Frank, a postscript, Alison Marsh. Can I make a night's move on Frank if he's ever in leafy Reigate? I just thought I'd read that out. You don't often get a night's move,
I
if I'm honest.
never ever get a night's move.
No.
I don't know if I've ever been to Reigate, but I like the fact that it's leafy.
Well, now you've reason.
Yeah, maybe I'll go there in autumn, and then I'll have plenty of humus to walk upon.
Is that what it's called?
I believe that's what decaying vegetation, when it's become a sort of organic carpet, is called, isn't it?
Hummus.
I think it's humus.
Hoovis.
Someone will tell us, because
Oh, yeah, that's
our
for
readers
sure.
know everything. But
Yeah.
I think I'm right. Am I going to find that I've been walking on some sort of Greek dip all these years? How very embarrassing.
Frank Skinner.
On Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Frank 650, Craig Revel Horwood, thanks for the tip.
Ah, yes. Now, this is based on that well-known trope I'm so fond of, where you
Yes.
say, do you know Vanessa May? No, but thanks for the tip. Do you know Victoria Wood? No, but thanks for the tip. So that would suggest that his name is Craig Revel Hoare.
Yes.
But, I like it because he's working with it. And if you don't take out those little exploratory extra steps, you never create the new thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is what I'm explaining to the people at NASA earlier this week.
I love your work with them.
Yeah, I'm only a consultant, but I think we get work done.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing. I was walking along, I was on Whitehall
Oh, yeah.
this week. And as you probably know, I'm leading a large protest outside Number Downing Street about some of the political things going on in Sri Lanka at the moment.
Right.
I'm not.
No, I didn't think you were.
I don't know if there is anything
Playing
going on
the
in Sri
game.
Lanka.
No, it's all calmed down now. I'm going
That's it,
there
that's
soon.
it. Oh,
Oh, are
good.
you?
Yeah.
Well, that all...
No, you just like hanging out in Whitehall. You're like those Bieber fans outside the hotel. You hang outside Downing Street.
Just in case,
Yeah.
just in case he dangles a small child over the balcony, a la Jacksonian. Actually, what about Jermaine? Did you see that Jermaine changed his name to Jermaine Jackson? So now it's instead of S-O-N,
Oh.
it's S-U-N,
Oh.
Has he?
because he wants to suggest that he emanates light in some way.
Oh,
Did you not know that?
I did not know that. No, I've...
I thought he should have gone the whole hog and gone for Jamoon Jackson, and then covered the two major
Perfect.
representatives
Very
of
good,
day
yeah.
and night.
I mean,
But, you know.
I'm mainly furious that I missed this news. I'm going to have to check my Jermaine Jackson news app.
Well, if I was Jermaine Jackson's chief advisor, one of my main written in ink adages would be don't change the name Jackson. Because without that, Jermaine, we are nothing. But I think he's had a falling out with the family. It's
It's a shame because they seem a lovely family.
Yeah, they've always gone on so well, haven't they? I think it was Who Owns the Glove.
Oh, yeah.
You know that. So
Oh,
many
yeah.
families torn apart by that debate.
Yeah.
Certainly those who take part in falconry.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was walking down Whitehall and a chap came up to me and he said, I saw you the other day. And I didn't say anything, but I really wanted to come over and say something to you. And I said, oh, okay. He said, I wanted to tell you this. He said, I think you'll like this. He said, I was really down. I felt really miserable. And I said, I'm sorry to hear that. He said, no, hold on. He said, so I thought I'll have a look on YouTube and look at a bit of comedy and see if anything can turn me round. And I thought, that's, nice. And he said, he said, I saw this, he said, I clicked on, and it was Eddie Izzard. Mm-hmm. He said, talking about Darth Vader.
Oh, well, that's all right. Did he find any comedy, though?
He said, that is so wrong. And he said, oh, man, it really, really cheered me up. It was, it's just one of the... Have you seen it? It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And I thought, okay.
Did you know what you did?
Yeah, did you think I was Eddie Izzard? I was wearing an elaborate ball gown.
And you were
at the time.
in Whitehall, and Eddie loves a bit of politics.
That's true. But I was wearing my Free Sri Lanka ball gown, which I wear just for the protest. No, well, I love Eddie Izzard, and I love that routine, but I thought, why are you telling me this? And, he said, it's so brilliant. He said, I thought maybe you could expand on it a bit.
No.
What do you mean?
That's frowned upon, isn't it? That's frowned upon.
Yeah. So it's sort of, when people take up the work of a dead novelist.
Yes.
The unfinished work.
Yeah, that seems fine, doesn't it?
But if I went on stage and said, that Eddie Izzard, maybe I could open the show
Yeah.
with that on VT and then go on and say, and I'll tell you what else Eddie could have said that would have been good. So that's
Actually, that is what our Keith does quite a lot of the time.
No, but our Keith is, at least he's developing it himself. But I'm really glad it cheered him up. But I was so certain it was going to be something of mine. I was so certain. I was bracing. I'd adopted the polite humility face.
I would have gone Venga Boys, you see. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Oh, there was 1,000 things flashing through my head of mine that he could have seen that would have cheered him up. That was incorrect, as it turned out. It was, yeah. So, what I'm wondering is what cheers people up, because it's quite a mechanical thing to do. If I'm feeling a bit down, I'll have a look on YouTube.
You like a tree, don't you? You like a tree, you've told us.
I like to sit with my back against a tree. That's one of my...
Yes.
Which is quite mechanical. But, you know, if I was doing that, I wouldn't then go up to, let's say, a hedge and say, "Oh, I'm glad I've seen you, because I was feeling really down the other day, and I was cured by, not by your species, but by a tree. Maybe you can expand into a tree, and then I can sit under you." I imagine that. I think that hedge would have every cause to be offended.
This is Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We were talking about how we cheer ourselves up, I think, is basically, rather than things that randomly come to us that cheer us up, but when you actively think, I'm going to cheer myself up. I used to do it with confectionery in the old days. I had two mainstays. I'd either go licorice all sorts or dime bars.
Is this post-booze? Because a lot of post-booze people go for sugar, don't they?
Well, obviously, when I drank...
There's a replacing of the sugar.
Obviously, that's how I cheered myself up all the time.
Yeah, I had a number I used to call quite often if I needed cheering up.
Lovely. But now I'm frightened of becoming like one of those people who can't get off the toilet. They're so fat, you know. We spoke recently, I think, about how obesity isn't what it was. It used to be about fun, and now it's about...
Oh, yeah.
Being trapped in a mountain of flesh.
It's about being on Channel 5, essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't do those anymore, sadly.
Frank, I have a little ritual to
you?
cheer myself up.
Didn't he do a wop bopaloo bopple up bomboo?
I'll tell you what I do. It's 3 stages. Firstly, because I love being warm, I don't like the cold, so I put my pyjamas in the tumble dryer for about 7 or 8 minutes to make them really toasty and warm.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I put them on.
If only I knew how to work the tumble dryer, or even if we had one.
Then, Frank, I make myself a little hot chocolate. Love
Nice.
that. Then I put on one of my favourite programmes, Don't Tell the Bride. Oh, I love that show. And the Schadenfreude in it cheers me up, because my favourite thing is when the girl, you know, the man picks the dress for the girl.
I don't know the
You've
show.
not seen
I've got to
it?
be straight with you.
Oh, guys, you've got to see it. The man picks... He does the whole wedding. He does the whole wedding for the girl.
Whoa.
And then he always gets the dress completely wrong. And
Of course.
She tries it on and she goes, I hate it. He doesn't know me at all. There's this horrible scene. Oh, please watch it. Because I think Kath's a fan of Don't Tell the Bride.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Kath likes all rubbish television.
No, this is good.
No, but I mean, you know, when I say rubbish television, it's more of a genre than a value judgment.
But yeah, that's my little ritual, Frank.
I think
It
it's
always
actually
cheers me up.
it's listed on Sky Anytime as rubbish television.
No.
All that stuff. Yeah.
What does the cockerel do?
I have various techniques, but one of them, and this sounds contrary, but one of them is my general fatalism, because obviously at any point I think things could be worse, and that's quite a cheering thought in its own way. My wife worries about my fatalism, but I think it's actually a companion that helps you see the bright side of things. It genuinely does.
I hadn't thought of that. Some people, of course, they console themselves with the misery of others by saying, you know, well look at those poor people who are blah. I've always thought that's a bit wrong, isn't it?
Well, I have a version of that, but it's not like that. Like, for instance, the last few weeks, I've been stuck on the motorway late at night, and it's delayed my journey home, and I've seen the guys doing the roadworks at 2 in the morning, and I've had a little look out and thought, it's tempting to be moody because this is delaying my journey by an hour, but I'm in a nice warm car with a full belly because I've ordered room service, and then I've done a gig. I'm not digging up the road on the M6. This is brilliant.
Good. See, I look at them and think, oh, you see, I never get free high-vis. Because I think they're allowed to take that high-vis home and wear it.
Oh, they definitely can keep it for riding their bikes.
Exactly, for the cyclists, it's a boon, and all free.
But I have another one.
So I think they're better off than I am.
I have another one that's not quite so mean-spirited. I try and do it to somebody who's sort of thinks that they're above me in the food chain. So, like, I'll see a boorish businessman at Euston Station on the phone coming out of TM Lewin where he's bought his four.
I wish you could see the cockerel's
rubbish
face when he's telling me. He's
business
in full fifth gear grimace.
And I'll see him, and he probably thinks his life's amazing and that it's better than mine, and I'll see him and think, well, at least I'm not that guy. That's my thing. I try and think, at least I'm not that guy.
So you use contempt for other people to get
absolutely.
through. It's
Absolutely.
lovely. I'm starting to think Licorice All Sorts wasn't so bad as a choice.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Yes, so that was, we talked about cheering up. No one's texted us about how they cheer themselves up, but that's all right.
No.
I sometimes think people
It might
cheer
not be
themselves
fit
up
for
by...
broadcast.
No, exactly.
Knowing our listeners.
I'll tell you what has cheered me up is I've now reached the level where I have got enough socks and pants that I don't have to think, this is going to have to be a 2-dayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I bought some extra pants, and I did I've done a couple of TV series which always ups my socks content.
Do they buy you socks, do they?
Well, you get socks to wear on stage, and I never give them back. I always think you don't want to wash socks, do you? And free socks is like one of the great joys of life.
Oh.
I've also discovered. Remember, I used to wear Calvin Classics, which is the cheap version.
I'll
of Calvin.
never forget.
I've now discovered a new type of very cheap pant called authentic underwear. It's called.
Anything with authentic in
I
the
know, it's a
name.
particularly fine title, and it suggests that the others are some sort of phonies.
I
Where do
hated
you
that
get the
fake
authentic underwear? Is it a market
I
purchase?
think this was a Primark. I've got to be straight with you.
Are they a boxer? A boxer brief?
Yeah, they're a boxer. And at the
Fly
moment,
button?
after 3 washes, the elastic is still connected to the rest of the material, which is what I find what happens is I'm pulling them up, and basically my waistband becomes a boob tube. Mm-hmm. Because it just separates from the pants. So that makes me happy that I think, I've got like, for example, the washing machine broke last week, so the cleaner couldn't do the washing. I'd got enough socks and pants. I can do 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'm just glad you're adding to Buzz's inheritance.
Yeah, well, he will.
He'll never want for pants.
I have got pants from the 80s. Honestly. I remember seeing a thing about Elvis once, and they said, they were talking about the women he used to go out with in the early days, and one of Lamar Fikes said, hell, I got underwear older than her. And he meant it.
Oh.
And, so that's how it goes. So that cheers me up. I think we should probably talk about the big story of the week, now, shouldn't we? That little lovely...
Are you talking about Justin Diva?
I am.
As they're calling him.
Little lovely cute...
Are they calling him Diva?
Justin Diva, they call him.
Oh, don't
But
think
he's been like...
He's had a
He's
right
been
week.
like 3 big news stories this week. I
Yeah.
suppose that's his job to publicise himself. But
Well, we should remind... So the first one, he turned up... was it 2 hours late?
2 hours late at,
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
a
although-
concert attended by people after the age of 9.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Are you? What? Well, Darkest Hair has been dropped.
That's a
brought
shame,
you in.
because I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Apparently-
What say you?
Apparently, Bieber and his people say that he wasn't 2 hours late. He was about 40 minutes late, and even that he should apologise for, and he has. But he's saying it wasn't 2 hours. But it all feels like more once it's past your bedtime, though, doesn't it? So those people that are at that gig,
we have to say, there was talk of him having a tantrum and playing video games.
Yes.
And unfortunately for him, he did tweet when he was meant to be on stage, didn't he? At
Did
about
he?
Did
9:30, 10 o'clock, which his management then deleted.
Oh, really?
And I have the tweet here in my hand.
Oh, tell us.
Would council like to hear it?
Yes.
He did. He posted a tweet at 9:30 saying, "Me and Scooter Braun have been going under the rafters and grabbing people's lets." He meant legs.
Which I think he also meant Scooter Braun and I.
Yeah.
And seeing them freak out. Ha ha, prankster on the loose.
Prankster on the
So
loose.
he was there.
That
he
was
was
at
just
9:45.
He was just
Oh.
underneath the
The rafters.
seating area.
Yes.
Having hijinks. I I mean, in a way, it's surprising that hijinks hasn't affected a teenager's career before, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I
I'm
suppose...
a big believer, but I didn't expect hijinks.
Well, I find the whole thing unbelievable.
Believable.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
Do you think when he reads the tabloid headlines about himself, he goes, "Oh, I don't believe it," again and again, every day?
I think they're read to him. I think he sits cross-legged on the floor. He gets the tabloid headlines as a warm-up, and then it's straight into Stig of the Dump.
I don't like
Bieber in the morning, Bieber in the night, you give me Bieber.
He cited Bieber cited his reason for being late. Well, he didn't cite this. An aide said that apparently he wanted to have a shower. That was one of the reasons. There was a lot of speculation flying around.
Well, look, even if he was only
showering.
Yeah, but 40 minutes. What kind of a shower is that?
2 hours, I heard.
Or
not
2
40.
hours.
And one fan who had paid to meet him said she asked for a hug, and he said, "I don't have time."
He's a busy man.
I like the
You
idea
can't hug
that
every
it's a time
teenage girl
issue.
in the country,
Hugging.
can he? He's got
wanna-
stuff to do.
I'd want to know more about that fan before I condemn him.
Yeah,
I'd
it's like
wanna-
when that guy asked Frank to sign his arm, and Frank didn't look that keen.
No.
No. Well, sometimes a hug is, it's a big step.
Yeah.
Not for me, it's not. Frank, people are saying he's only 19, though, but that's old now.
Well, it's not old, is
It is.
it?
Bill Gates founded Microsoft when he was 19. There's no excuse. 19
Did he
is...
really?
Yeah, he did. He's an
Yeah.
adult. He was going to meetings with lawyers with briefcases.
Yeah, but he probably didn't have 35,000 teenage girls worldwide screaming at him everywhere he went. He wouldn't have got quite so much computer work done then, would he?
Yeah, but I
Would he?
don't know. I like absolutely manufactured pop stars.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with pop music, because it doesn't matter, it means you might as well get exactly what you want. I really want computer generated.
That would be next.
I want someone like, do you remember Anna Nova?
Yes, I do remember Anna Nova.
Anna Nova was like a computer-generated newsreader that used to be on the early days of
She
the
was
internet.
very up your strauser, Frank.
She was, yeah. And I think you should be able to, tweak a bit. And no, I meant the way they look. And or Max Headroom. So
Yes.
you can because do we need to involve human beings in pop music at all? We've got auto-tune and all that. And the trouble is, if you have too much reality in a musical thing, you end up with Lemmy.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Bieber.
Well,
Yeah.
I also like the fact that he's obviously the most terrible brat. Because he's entitled to be. It's a odd thing to be
Yeah,
a child
yeah.
star like that.
If he wasn't
Can I
in the
just
first
say, if
place,
my
his
niece
life
Mimi
in-
is listening, we know not what we do or say. I apologise. She went to the concert. She loves him.
Well, the woman who teaches my baby to swim, Margaret, I was in... It's me and 4 moms and her babies in the water. And she was saying that she'd gone to see Bieber the night he fainted. He fainted.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
As you know, I don't
short
believe
breath,
there's
didn't
any
he?
such thing as fainting.
No.
I think what it is a decision to fall over.
Frank, his spokesman said Justin got quite light of breath,
Yeah.
which sounded like Wordsworth.
It
Is that
is.
his spokesman?
Yeah, he... And she said that her daughter had said that as he staggered off stage, he fell into the arms of someone in the wings, which so marvellous. Oh, but there was part of me, even though I despise him, that thought, I wish that had been me. Because he's lovely.
Isn't he?
He is.
He wears authentic underwear, I hear.
Yeah. Does he really? Well, I've seen his underwear because he texted a picture of himself from hospital in which he'd managed to
I
construct
thought you meant
himself...
to you for a
No.
minute.
There's a picture to prove he was in hospital, and the gown, the normal surgical
Yeah.
gown, he'd sort of pulled that down to his waist, so
Yeah.
you could see his white pants. He is such a minx.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I have returned.
Hello again.
Right.
I'll tell you one thing about this proposition that we just had, that Bieber wears authentic underwear. I think, his most recent... He's been in 3 big news stories this week, and yesterday's was his altercation with a pap.
Yeah.
He started running at him, trying to kick off a little fight. But in the teenage way, he had his jogging pants right down below his underwear,
Yeah.
right below his bum.
Below his authentics.
Now, I know he's only a teenager and that's how they wear them, but surely they pull them up for a fight. Surely you would want...
I don't know. I think they spring out of them for a fight, like a cat out of a small container.
See, I think if I was him in that van before he ran out and lunged at the pap, I think I would think, right, the first thing I'm going to do is jump to my feet and then pull my trousers up, and then I'm going to go for him, because I don't want these falling down in the middle of an altercation. It's it's an age gap thing, isn't it?
If I had 4 minders, I'd be lunging at people all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'd hold me back, and I'd lunge again, and they'd hold me back,
Yeah.
and I'd say, you just think yourself lucky that my people aren't, yeah.
I mean, really, he's the boss of those minders, isn't he? He could say...
He ran out of that
I
people
now
carrier.
command
What'd you see?
you.
What'd you see?
Yeah.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
There was some category C swear words used
Oh,
inevitably
well,
that I'm
no.
afraid we
You see, that's wrong, because, he's got very young fans. He needs to remember that.
Do you think?
He does. Although he's very, very beautiful, I think, it's what's inside that counts. And
But also,
he's got some growing up to do. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Newsflash, everyone is beautiful when you're 19. It's all downhill from there.
No, that's not true. You
Bill
weren't-
Gates was.
obviously,
Oh, no, but...
you weren't in my class.
19.
I must get them up on Friends Reunited. I'll prove that wrong.
Well, you're a big fan still of Friends Reunited, aren't you, Frank?
I've actually put money into it recently. In fact, I've basically split my life savings between that and MySpace. I like to think, you got to get in early on these trends.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Frank?
Yes.
Well, we've had a missive in from
Okay.
Barry, and this is
From the person or from the island of
Oh,
Barry?
Very
no,
good.
good question.
No man
this
is an island.
From a character named Barry.
Okay.
He's from Benfleet. He says...
Oh, I know Ben Fleet well.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Isn't he on GMTV?
No, it's a sort of Essexy, not far from Southendy kind of.
Oh, he
You
says
ever
he's...
seen that brown leather coat I wear sometimes?
Yes.
I got that from a shop that has sort of sells off nice clothes cheaply. That was in Benfleet. Probably not there anymore.
I love that story.
No, it is. It's one of the great. So I'm putting it right up there with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
This is I don't know if we have time for this, Frank. but
Perhaps we don't,
it
because...
what I will say is it involves a
teasing.
cockerel sighting.
Oh, well, then we'll definitely come back to this, because I'd walk 1,000,000 miles for a cockerel sighting.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text us on 8 12 15. We'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, it just feels like we're talking to black foam hanging in front of our faces. And you can follow us on Twitter at Frank on Absolute for the Twitterati. Eh?
You may remember earlier...
I say, for the Twitterati. Don't think I'm
I love it when
not
you get
au fait.
contemporary. You may remember earlier, Frank, I trailed a cockerel sighting. This is from Barry Dingwall specifically. He says
Barry Dingle.
Barry Dingwall.
Oh,
No, he's not
okay.
one of the Dingles.
Okay.
I met one of the Dingles in the 90s. Hello, Frank,
One of them
Emily and
had
Alan.
the fullest beard I've ever seen in my life. He was like a cartoon. He was like Bluto.
Oh, is that the
From,
older fella? Yeah.
What a beard that was. There was no giving it.
I was in bed this week watching Sky TV when this is Barry, not me, when out of the corner of my eye I spotted something that made me grab the remote and quickly rewind to double check that I'd seen what I thought I had. It was an episode of Not Going Out, and the cockerel was collecting glasses and had to give a funny look to Lee Mack. The quality of acting was a joy to behold, and I can only assume that when casting Miranda, the relevant people hadn't seen this fine example of a craftsman in action.
Surely it's on the show reel.
Sadly, this was probably the highlight of my week,
Oh,
which says a lot more about me than anything else.
yes.
If Alan is ever in the southeast, he can feel free to look me up, as Basildon has several £1/99p stores which contain bargains galore. My natural preference for a look-up would normally be Emily, but although a lady of outstanding natural beauty, she seems likely to be a little high maintenance.
Well, that's harsh, isn't it?
Barry from Benfleet.
Do you mean it's harsh inferring that I would only go there because of the £1.99 stores? I feel like I'm getting a reputation.
Yes.
I wish
Well,
I'd seen Cockerel collecting the glasses, Frank.
Yes, I never saw that episode. How was it?
It is a fact.
I'd like to see your funny look at doing that.
Well, what happened was I was doing the warm-up on that very project.
And the proper actor didn't turn up. Is that where this story's going?
No.
Oh, okay.
Lee Mack said to me, I need somebody to do like a little double take, and I don't trust a normal extra.
No.
So can you
or an
do it?
actor.
Yeah.
No.
And so I did the warm-up and played a role in the show.
You broke through the fourth
I
wall.
had to say to the audience, forgive me now, I'm going to have to go off and be in this scene, and then I'll be back with
Did you
you.
put a costume on for it?
Well, I wore for the warm-up like trousers and a shirt like the barman would be wearing. And I'm really glad that it has been appreciated, because I think it's been sadly overlooked by many awards panels since. And I was also a chauffeur in the series that We Are Clang did, that you know, Steve, who filled my boots last week.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
You
gave
shouldn't
me
have
one
done
of my
that.
acting.
It's your own fault for leaving them in that corner of the storeroom.
We warned him, no good would come of it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, so my television acting CV goes sort of barman, chauffeur, and Jason the Asthmatic, which we all remember.
Oh,
don't
my
we,
romantic
fondly?
history as well.
So
Yeah.
where to, Quo Vadis? Where to now with the acting
I think
career?
it's straight to Hollywood with that CV, isn't it? Surely.
What, Paul Hollywood from the Great British Bake Off?
Yeah, something like that.
It's good
We,
though. It's nice. I never get any little acting cameos.
Oh,
not,
you
not
were
since
cruelly overlooked by the Doctor Who people, weren't you? As we've
I wasn't so
discussed.
overlooked. I was rebuffed.
I think you would have had a chance in Merlin, and now it's been cancelled.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's isn't that the story of my life? No.
No.
It isn't. The story of my life has been in the right place at the right time. So I'm not complaining. I haven't
Especially
given up
with
totally.
Facebook and Friends Reunited.
My deal with the Who people, I think, is that if I get a part, I won't tell anyone.
The Who people.
Yeah.
I'm calling them that. People think it's Roger Daltrey.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
weird.
thought.
It's really misleading.
Well,
It's,
the World
yeah,
Health
yeah.
Organisation.
I promised if I cleaned out his trout farm, I'd get a place in the programme. He's still got a trout farm.
No, but I tell you what, he's still got a good old torso on him.
Yeah.
For a man of that age.
Well, he does a lot of
To quote
country
the
walking.
Cockerel, I would.
Has he done? Has he been doing a lot of sit-ups or something? Is that his thing?
No, he's
Daltrey.
always had a good torso.
Yeah, because he takes his shirt off on stage, so you have
Oh,
obligations.
like the Cliff Richard calendar.
Obligations.
See, I'm often thinking if I'd done more topless work, it would have given an incentive
Yeah,
for me
definitely.
to look after myself better.
Definitely incentivises a few
As
crunches.
it is, if we look at my torso now, I took my shirt off in front of a makeup woman and a wardrobe lady the other day.
Oh, yeah. Always have two in the room, Frank.
Yeah, they were both always two.
Always have two.
Always
You
two.
just never know,
Don't
Frank.
worry, I've I look and learn the last 6 months. But I look like my torso now. I look like I'm made from brie.
Oh,
I've got that grey, clammy, slightly creased. I look like like parts of me are falling. I look like my body's mid-avalanche.
I know you're saying this is a bad thing, but all that's happening is it making me a bit hungry. I haven't had brie for ages.
Oh,
Lovely,
I
innit?
thought you meant hungry for...
No.
Okay.
Two in the
For
room.
brie.
Two in the
For
room,
brie.
minimum.
Two in the room. That was actually my motto on tour.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We've had a text in, 321. He says...
Was that your countdown to you reading it? Is that supposed to create tension?
No, I was just channeling Ted Rogers.
If I was, you need to give it a bit more.
Yeah.
3, 2, not just go 3, 2, 1. But I mean, you know, imagine if Euston were like that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast. Oh well, I wasn't even ready.
Daltrey torso. Not as good as the boss's.
Daltrey Torso sounds like a Leicestershire village.
Yeah,
I live in the small hamlet of Daltrey Torso.
that's good.
He is one
live there.
fit old man.
Who? The
boss, the boss.
Springsteen.
Yeah.
Does he mean? Or
This is what 321 says. 321's
Not
a big
on
fan.
about his boss.
No. He's not one of the best though. There's some good ones out there. I think yours is pretty fine, Frank. I mean, I'm
No.
basing it on Venga Boys.
Cliff Richards.
No, but
Cliff Richard. Now you're talking.
Cliff Richard's middle-aged torsos go. I mean, I know middle age is
What
pushing
a
it.
calendar for a man of his age. What
I know. I've got it on my wall.
I should hope so.
I have.
I know you do.
It was. That'll be worth a fortune at some point. I think, well, I have to say, in the Doctor Who and the Silurians,
Yeah.
John Pertwee ends up wearing a white T-shirt for a lot of the show because he's been doing some medical experiments. And that's
Oh,
something.
yeah.
And he looks brilliant. I mean, who'd have thought Pertwee was
Pertwee?
well,
Guy's ripped.
You can see where he gets his name from. And he looks great. I'm very admiring of Pertwee. It's and also I think I watched some Fish Called Wanda the other night.
Oh, now where do you stand on John Cleese's torso?
Well, in that I think it's amazing.
No.
Oh,
It looks too much to me like, oh my God, I better go to the gym. I've got a film
really?
role coming up. I can
Well,
always
yeah.
tell. They look too new, the pecs. They don't sit well they don't sit well with them.
no, I respect you. See, my one thing about my pecs, they don't look too new.
I don't like box fresh pecs.
Oh, I admire him for that. And has a woman ever looked more amazing on screen than Jamie Lee Curtis does in that film?
Yeah, it's
Well,
a long time since I've seen
I didn't
it,
know
but
you were such a
she-
big fan of JLC's.
Oh, she's always been.
JLC.
She's always been my dream girl.
Frank, we've had another text in 546. We were at the recording of Not Going Out that Kokaliki was in. He was hilarious on and off camera, just saying. The warm-up he did was great.
Oh, that's nice.
I know it's a bit praisey, but...
No, I
It's
don't
a
mind. I don't mind
crazy.
praise for the cockerel because I sometimes think
deserves
the
it.
cockerel is too down on himself.
I
on
do.
the show. I think if you'd
That was
never
a-
seen the cockerel live, if you just listened to him, you might think he was awful. No, but you put yourself down. You say, tickets still available and all that.
It's tongue in cheek. I think. It's
Yeah,
much
but
better
you know,
than
people-
And that's
Well,
hard for a cockerel to do.
There's enough
Yeah,
people. There's
tongue in
enough
beak.
people slagging you off without you joining in.
Yeah, well, that's the internet for you.
No, I just meant dressing room.
Frank, we've had a text in 740. The word is detritus or detritus. One of my favourites. That's from Brett Garner, Alton, Hampshire.
What the word?
Well,
And
it's confusing, really, isn't it? Because he doesn't explain what
It must
word
be.
he's
I wonder if it's a
referring
reference
to the leaves. The
Yeah,
leaves
to-
that we
The
discussed.
leaves.
Remember, I was on about humus, and I'm
Hummus.
convinced it's humus.
but Frank, could you give us a steer hit? Would you? He says
I can give you a
detritus.
steer, but
He says detritus.
I'm going to have to go back to my.
R-I-R-U-S.
Is it
US small holding.
detritus or detritus?
It's definitely detritus.
Well, I had an ex-boyfriend once. Might want to buckle up, everyone.
Yep.
For my ex-boyfriend stories.
I'm already settled.
And I'd been to his house. We were sort of dating.
You
each
said you
other.
had an ex-boyfriend, or you had a boyfriend?
No,
once?
no, he was my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
Well, was he? It was about date 3. And I went to the... It's
always tricky, isn't it? Decide-
Pre-conjugals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Date
So that's
3 was
awkward.
pre-conjugal.
How dare you?
Okay. Okay.
And so I went to the place, the apartment,
Yeah.
and I thought there was some wine glasses there.
Oh, that's always good.
Excellent.
No, but I get a bit forensic about these things
Okay.
too. I thought that was a bit odd. Date 3, who was there last night? 2 wine glasses.
No, I thought they were in waiting for you.
Oh no, they were used, my friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I also noticed a cigarette in the ashtray. He didn't smoke. I thought, who was that? Seemed like the behaviour of a drunken girl.
How nostalgic
I
that was,
know.
cigarette in the ash.
It was very,
Those were the days.
it was very 90s thing
Yeah.
to see in a house, inside a house.
I imagine he had like one of those white fur rugs that you used to get, the long fur.
And I stared at those wine glasses for some time.
Was there any lipstick traces?
I didn't get that far.
Okay.
But guess what he said? He dismissed it with a hand and he said, "Last night's detritus."
Oh.
I didn't like that.
No, not detritus. I'm not happy with it.
That wasn't what I objected to.
Yeah, I don't
No,
mind his
that is-
philandering. It's his pronunciation I don't like.
That's a deal breaker, isn't it? If
Yeah.
somebody mispronounces a word. As
It
with-
was for me.
Maybe it's an alternative pronunciation of detritus. I don't know, but I'm not. I don't think it is.
It's not going to be an easy texting, is it? Because people
No.
are gonna be texting in. It's just the word, isn't it?
No, they'll have to. I don't know.
So and so
I
pronounces
don't know
it.
if there's a phonetics alphabet on your average smartphone. Anyway,
We've had another cockerel spot.
Anyway, it's humus. I'm sure that's what you walk on when it's bits of old branch and leaf. Lovely spongy
Humus.
spongy feeling. Humus.
Yeah.
Frank 044, hello FA&E. Further on the Alan spotting theme, I was wanted a QI recording and the warm-up comedian was one Alan Cochrane.
Yeah.
He worked the crowd with ease and
Everywhere.
aplomb, crucially making everyone laugh. That is all.
Well,
Ease
that is-
and aplomb.
That is not all. I mean, I was at one stage in my career king of the TV warm-ups. I did loads of it.
Oh, king.
But I have never warmed up QI. I've never set foot in the QI
Oh my
studio
God, that's
ever.
the most awkward thing.
So I suspect what's happened here is this person's
Oh,
been to
dear.
2 recordings and flipped them. So he might have seen one thing that I did do, and he's just crossed them over in his mind.
I imagine
I'm guessing. Or she.
Dr. Jonathan Miller warms up for QI.
I don't know who does that actually, but I haven't done it. I promise you.
No, it's all right.
Maybe it was a Have I Got News For You or something like that. I've done that.
You don't have a lookalike working, do you?
Yeah, Chris Marshall from My Family. That guy
Was
does.
it- was it-
he does
is there an
lots of
Alan
work.
No, he had
Cochrane,
a spot of
tribute
bother,
act?
didn't he?
Yeah. It's the guy that plays Truls Hartman in The Killing. He does loads of warm-ups now for me.
Frank doesn't watch box sets.
No,
I've
you
told
don't.
you can't talk about box sets. It gets
Killing.
He
upset.
does. He likes Carnival that I've got.
I like Carnival, but that's the only one I've ever liked. And that is the bleakest, most dark, religious imagery freak show of a thing you've ever seen in your life.
What about Broken Bird? That's
I'd
quite
recommend-
bleak.
Broken Bird, it wasn't for me. But if anyone, Carnival with an E on the end, I'd really recommend that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a brilliant thing, although you'll never sleep again. But, you know, we waste too much time sleeping. I've always thought that.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
It's frankly all about the cockerel this morning.
I don't know. I come back and I feel like everyone's talking about me. At least I'm
I
here.
remember
suppose.
Bernard Matthews offered that to me as a piece of business advice. It's all about the cockerel.
And many people don't even call me Cockerel anymore. I seem to be getting called
Don't they?
Cockaliki still on text
Well,
messages.
maybe this heavy cockerel.
Usage.
Yeah, we'll put you back on the right road.
Good.
We've had an email in about the cockerel.
It'll
goodness.
put you back in the barnyard and take you out of the terrain.
I say about the cockerel, he's mentioned in dispatches. Hi Frank, please ask Alan to tell you about his gig in the non-metaphorical Skipton cattle market. And the strange screams we all heard echoing around the building during his set.
Blimey.
It was one of the best nights out we've had for ages. It's quiet round here. Despite the faint smell of, and then he uses a category C swear word to describe human waste.
We can imagine.
Or animal
Well,
waste,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's animal.
And
yeah.
distracting sounds of zombie children. I'm one of your podcast readers and listen religiously every week in the workshop. It keeps us almost
Hold it
sane.
in the workshop.
I don't know. I don't want to investigate too thoroughly.
Oh,
He might
I
be a
see.
carpenter. Although
gets-
I'm
yeah, he
imagining.
gets to this
I'm
later,
guessing that he makes griffins out of the griffin, the mythical beast.
yes,
I'm
I'm
aware of
familiar
it.
I
with
think
it.
he
Their
makes
work, yeah.
models of those out of sheet metal.
Well, hold your high horses because he goes on to elaborate.
Oh.
He also says, is an atheist allowed to do anything religiously? Discuss. Keep up the good work. P.S. If the delightfully divine Miss M should ever feel the need for a night out at an actual cattle market, tell her to wait a minute, think again, it should pass.
He could give you a steer.
Oh, lovely, Frank.
Very good.
However, if you are in need of fine handmade bespoke furniture in the Yorkshire area, feel free to get in touch.
Oh. Well,
Excellent.
I'm always in the market for a tall boy.
Well, that that
Again,
certainly
always two
explains
in the room,
workshop
Frank.
reference, doesn't it? That's the reveal there.
Oh, so I see. So it's
the
a
workshop,
furniture
yeah.
workshop. Oh, I can smell the
Furniture,
glue.
But so what? Go on,
I can see the insertion of the dowling in my mind.
I like this emailer because he's covered several areas. His reference to the non-metaphorical Skipton cattle market. He's right. I've done many gigs in nightclubs that then become metaphorical meat markets. You know, like
I
lads would say, "Oh, it's a meat market. Hey, let's get in there. We'll definitely trap off or whatever." You know,
Is that what they say?
those sort of
Trap
lads.
off?
You know, those sort of lads. Yeah. Well, this was an actual cattle market. It's
Yeah.
a cattle market. The lady that showed us around showed us
I've been to a
backstage
few
where
of them.
the pens are. I mean, it's amazing, but it's got a wooden roof. It's an anomaly as a building. So it started to be used for theatre productions by Barry Rutter's Northern Broadsides, who,
Oh,
in a
yeah.
coincidence, I worked for many, many years ago. So
What kind of parts did that throw up?
I played barman, chauffeur, and Jason the
No,
Asthmatic.
you did not. Do you play those are they on a loop, those three
Yeah,
roles?
that's all I've got.
Oh.
No, I did some minor roles for them, but it was a really good, fun production. And I performed at the cattle market, but then I did stand up there last weekend. And it is true, it does smell. It smells of cow dung.
Yes, I saw the Rolling Stones at Bingley Hall.
Oh, really?
It was that tour when he used to have an enormous inflatable
Who did?
appendage which he used to sit on, Mick Jagger.
Oh, right.
And Bradford, Bingley Hall, Stafford, always smelt of cow droppings. I say droppings,
dear.
it's more like an abseil from a cow.
And I also like this chap for saying it's one of the best nights out we've had for ages. Brackets, it's quiet round here.
Yeah.
In that even my fans have a self-deprecating sense of humour.
I think he's.
Yes.
I think he's.
I like that about your
sincere
fans.
That it's one of the best nights out. But then I think he's pulling your leg.
But it was good fun, and also had one of the strangest dressing rooms I've ever been allocated in my career.
Well,
what
hold
was-
that, because I like a dressing room based teaser.
That's what I'm worried about. Always two.
Yeah, exactly. I always like a teaser in the dressing room, just to get me ready. Some call them a fluffer. I call them a teaser.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Eddie has texted in and he's cleared up a little matter for us. Hi, Frank, Emily and the Cockerel. You are correct, Frank. Humus is the term used for vegetation that has broken down to a point where it has reached stability and will not break down any further. Not to be confused with hummus, which tastes the same. That is all, Ed.
I like the idea that maybe in human psychology one could break down to a point where one stabilises and couldn't break down any further. Let's hope that's true.
Sorry, can I just...
That's good news. That's
553.
my secret message for Kerry Katona. Go on, carry on.
553. Wow, Frank, I also saw the Stones at Stafford Bingley Hall. My husband Mick was on security and offered Mick Jagger a pork pie. I sat next to Bianca Jagger.
I wonder how that went, the pork pie offer. Well,
Yeah.
you can't see Mick with a pork pie, can you?
No.
I imagine,
Although
judging
if he
by
did have it, I think he'd pop the whole thing in at once.
because of his enormous lips
Yeah.
and
He's
mouth.
so
That's what I'm
snake.
saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
you say that, but I imagine he lives on plankton. He's got that kind of mouth.
He's so snake hip, though, I can't imagine. I think he's no carbs by mouth.
He's, I mean, but even if you allow for no carbs, he's like the bones of his hips are so narrow. I don't know how he keeps up a trouser. It's
He
beyond me.
must have some kind of system. Braces, maybe.
I suppose he must have. Well, so yeah, I'd like to get to the bottom of Skipton Cattle Market, but who wouldn't?
Me too.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to do a lot of digging, I'd imagine.
Well, the lady showed us quite often in the world of comedy, as you know, you're shown, especially in pub gig circuit land, you're shown to what is essentially a broom cupboard or the bit where chefs hang out and it has that smell. You know that smell?
I seem to remember Boris Becker using this story.
But this one, the lady said, I'll show you to the green room, took us up the stairs and put us in the boardroom, which itself was bigger than many gigs I have performed in,
Wow.
and had a table that I would guess would comfortably have seated 28 people. I mean,
Oh, lovely.
the biggest
It was
table
just you, was it?
It was me and my support act Mike, but the biggest table I've ever seen in my life was in this boardroom.
Well, yeah, that's because you didn't watch Merlin.
You're right, I didn't.
And I'm guessing there were
Huge.
there
Somebody
were
have taken a picture of it.
framed photographs of like Hereford bulls and
Exactly,
stuff
Yes.
over
exactly.
it.
And-
And let me predict this: they weren't in wooden frames; they were in clip frames. You know
Yes,
those metal
I think they
clip
would be.
frames.
I can't
And
remember
someone
the frame.
shaking hands with the mayor of
A lot of that.
Skipton.
A lot
There'll
of-
be a mayor, definitely.
There are a lot of pictures of men in tweedy-type
Yes.
jackets
Yeah.
next to animals that could have been taken at any point in the last 300 years,
Oh,
because those
God.
men are still wearing the
But
same
there'll be one.
clothes.
There'll be one celebrity visit photo of a Hereford bull with a rosette standing next to, let's say, Gabby Roslin.
Yeah.
I never spotted that, but it might be in the next
Disgraced,
boardroom.
disgraced MP Keith Vaz, I'm going for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he disgraced?
No, I only say that because I saw a picture of him once at Forest Mere Health Club on the wall.
If people had bets on who would be referred to on this show today, disgraced MP Keith Vaz, you'd have got good odds. Good odds, that would have been worth going for.
Yeah.
Well, I was I was in a green room this week. I had an interesting conversation with TV legend Richard Madeley.
Oh, I like him.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You're about to tell us about Richard Madeley.
Yes, so Richard Madeley came up to me in the green room at Graham Norton's Comic Relief Big Chat show this week.
Did the green room have an enormous table, or was it just a normal?
No, it had
standard?
a lot of celebrities in it.
Oh,
Did
really?
And a lot. It was
Almost the
celebrity
opposite
heavy.
of the green room I performed in. I had last Saturday. No
it's quite a
celebrities.
small
and-
table.
And a huge table.
It looked bigger because Ronnie Corbett was sitting at it.
Ah,
Oh, God, I've done a Ronnie Corbett size joke. That's brilliant.
his-
I'll do
I
one, in a minute, I'll do one about British rail sandwiches.
you know, when I last saw him was when I watched the England game with him at Buckingham Palace. Anyway, as you were.
Boom.
So-
It's a true story.
Good work.
So, Richard Madeley
Tell us
came
about
up to
Richard
me,
Madeley,
and he's
okay.
clutching a pair of boxer shorts.
Oh, God.
Calvin
And
Classics.
not mine.
Authentic.
No, they were like stripy ones. And he said, he came over and said, "Hi, Frank," and all that. And he's actually a really nice bloke, Richard Madeley. And he said,
I've got a big soft spot for Richard Madeley.
and he said, is it at Skipton Cattle Market? He said, I've had to just borrow these off someone because I'm going to wear a dress as a joke thing, he said. And the thing is, he said, I don't know if I've ever told you this, he said, but I haven't worn underwear for years. He said, I just find
not.
it
He's a commando guy.
Yeah, exactly. And he said,
Of
I
course
just...
it is. It makes sense now, doesn't it?
He said, I just like the freedom thing, you know. And I thought, well, you know, when I hear people talk about the freedom thing, I imagine it's going to be people in khakis in the middle of a jungle waving an Armalite, you know, freedom fighters. But
That's
yes,
a high price to pay for your freedom. I don't want to pay that price.
it's a high
disgusting.
price because I find that to change your trousers every day situation. And I can't, from a dry cleaning point of view, I will not tolerate that. You just want to change the lining. That's what it's about.
Frank, what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't change those
Well,
trousers
surely
every
he
day?
does. He'd have a crotch like a tortoise's carapace.
All I can say is my heart goes out to Judy.
And anyway, he said to me, he said, "You're looking well, Frank." He said, "How old are you?" And I told him, and he said,
Oh, God, is he hitting on you?
No, he said...
I don't
tells you
wear
who wears no
underpants,
underwear.
but you're
Turns
looking
out
well.
We're
How
more or
old
less
are you?
exactly the same age, Richard Madeley and I. And I said, well, you know, you look better than me. He said, no. He said, the secret, he said, is keep thin and don't go bald.
Wow.
And I thought it's all right. Get away with murder if you've. When I say get away with murder, I don't mean. I'm not thinking of any current news stories involving people who are.
No.
So anyway, yeah, I thought I said the trouble is the cruel fact about that is the going bald thing you sort of stop with. You can work at the keeping thing.
Well, you can work at the going bald. Have you seen Wayne Rooney's transplant? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we just agreed that we were blessed.
Well,
And
that's
we moved
nice,
on.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this continuing the theme of what cheers us up? You and Richard Madeley just going, well,
I
lucky,
did-
aren't we? We've looked out on the
I did like-
follicles department.
I'll tell you something, and I did some bridge mending with Example. Do you remember the last time I
Oh,
met
good.
Example?
I do remember it was
I know.
awkward
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Example.
I said I loved that single of yours, and it was a different example, and it was a bad example. Yeah, if it's worked. And he, I would say, is a very good example.
Oh, good.
He's a really, again, I'm saying that they're all nice, but believe me, they aren't all nice people. But I'll you know, Richard Madeley and Example are good examples of celebrity types. And I met his fiancée, the former Miss Australia. And we
Examples?
basically, yeah, we talked about the fact that he wasn't wearing.
I thought you were
engagement
calling him
ring.
examples like a Nana would. Examples?
Yeah, and we talked about the whole notion of why men don't wear engagement rings, you know, this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And in America, you can get a thing called a men engagement ring.
Oh.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
I'm always happy for an excuse to have diamonds upon me.
Are you?
So untrue. So
You're really
untrue.
bling. I've noted that about you.
Yeah, I'm just saying anything now. That's the great thing about radio is sometimes you can just sit back, let the mouth go off on its own, and see how it gets on. It's like it's like your child's first day at school.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with Alan Cochrane and Emily Dean. And you can follow us on Twitter at Frank on Absolute. On the web. Yeah, so it was World Book Day.
It was.
This week, which seems to me a good thing.
Yeah.
I like World Book Day.
We like books, don't we? in
We
this
should say
show?
one of the...
pro books.
you have to turn up. The children turn up dressed as a character, don't they? A famous literary character.
Let me tell you something about that.
Okay.
I
Please do.
passed a crocodile this week. Sorry, I'm a bit
dear.
Qatari. I'm not a Qatari.
No.
Looking forward to the World Cup in 46 degrees.
Lovely. Can I just say lovely VIP lounge in that airport?
Oh,
Qatari
yes.
Airport.
I've never been to Qatari
They
Airport.
pull out all the stops.
Do they? What, there's an organ? Anyway, that's always missing, I think, in an airport
An organ.
lounge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love a little bit I'd love a fugue.
Love it.
Just when you're waiting for your
I
next
love a
flight.
few.
That's what cheers you up. And
Anyway, I followed... I didn't follow. I passed I'll make that absolutely clear. I didn't follow a crocodile of children. I passed a crocodile. You know what I mean by a crocodile
Yes.
of children when they all walk
Absolutely.
hand in
I'm
hand?
really glad. I've been wondering what you meant when you said I've passed the crocodile again and again.
Yeah, I was on the Zambezi. No, and I passed them, and they were off to the South Bank. I'm assuming as part of that. It was World Book Day, and I would say there was 20 of them, maybe 26. I knew there was an even number because they were holding hands in pairs. 3 of them were in fancy dress. The others hadn't bothered.
Oh.
Right.
At that moment, well, I felt less optimistic about the future of this country.
Well, it could have been the parents that didn't know.
Well, even
as
if it was the parents, I still feel less optimistic about the future of the country. It was a bigger blow to me than...
How do you know they weren't in fancy
thanks for
dress?
interrupting me there.
Because
it did sound like you didn't have it sorted.
apparently...
I could only think of the worst things it's possible to mention on breakfast, but I couldn't do any of it.
No, but Frank, there was a school in Liverpool. Did you read about that? That their children all turned up in Liverpool kits because they said Stephen Gerrard had written an autobiography. So he was a literary figure.
I think you'll find that he spoke to someone who wrote an autobiography. If he even did that. Well... Yeah, I just thought it's such a shame. It was lovely seeing these kids dressed up. One had got a cloak on. You know I love a cloak.
You'd love a cloak.
Frank,
Yeah, and
love a
it
cloak.
looked like a Dracula cloak as
Oh,
well.
really?
And so I was very impressed by that. And there was a couple with tails. That was it.
Peppa Pig tails.
I mean, it doesn't take much effort.
Right, long sort of wolf tails.
Oh, really?
Did you see Kai Rooney as well?
Kai Rooney.
He went to a lot of effort. Good
I
effort.
have to say
He
with
gets
Kai
dressed up a
Rooney,
lot, though. He
I
really
have.
does.
Yeah, I have. When I saw the Daily Mail's Kai Rooney montage, Kai Rooney is not one word. It's not. It wasn't about pasta.
No.
Kai, the son of Wayne and Colleen Rooney. I really thought. You know, you can say what you like about the Rooneys, but I think they're great parents.
I do.
He's in some of the best fancy... There's a shot of her
Wizard of Oz,
as Dorothy.
Frank. Love it.
And he
Yeah.
was as the Scarecrow. It's one of the finest mother-child pictures I've seen. And I'm talking about a man who studied Renaissance
I
art,
loved it.
Madonna and Child. It was absolutely...
It was a little Joan Crawford studio photo, but I liked that.
It was gingham style. That's what it was. And, oh, man, I just thought how lovely to be the child of the Rooneys and get dressed up in different outfits every day. Absolutely brilliant.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We were talking about World Book Day. We discussed Kai Rooney. He went as the Mad Hatter. He looked very cute, didn't he?
He did, he's,
Yeah.
And the
I wonder if they have a stylist for his outfits because they were so
Oh,
good. They
they're
didn't
so
look
professional.
like
They
they didn't look like Mum was knocking them up out of her.
Unless
yeah.
she's really good at like face painting and arts and crafts and stuff, which she might be.
No,
She's-
they're like me when I go to
don't-
fancy dress and I go to the costume designer from the National Theatre. Honestly.
Yes,
The OC tweeted...
the OC has been name checked.
The OC tweeted this week that his daughter was going on World Book Day as Jack Reacher from the Lee Childs novels.
I'm not Au Fait with Jack Reacher.
You're not OC?
That is the... that
Apparently.
was my job title when I worked at QuickFit.
Jack Reacher.
It's a very high shelf.
That's very fine material.
Thank you so much.
Apparently there are tales of a daring do type guy, and they're meant to be...
Daring do.
Yeah, they're meant to
Yeah.
be really good, like, buy it in an airport and take it on holiday books. There are a lot of people who...
Chewing gum box.
I think they're...
Airport novels, yeah. They're a bit Born Identity.
I think I've been meaning to start on them because there's loads of them, and they're exactly that sort of book that if you go, oh, I like this one, you'll like them all, and that's quite a nice feeling, isn't it? Knowing that there's tons of the same book that you like.
Well, yeah.
I really enjoy that. So
You know,
they're on my
mine
to-do
too.
list.
I'm not being snobby about it. I'm currently reading Day of the Daleks, the novelisation.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we've talked many times off air about how much we enjoy a page turner, and it's a skill.
Well, Day of the Daleks. What they
Dare the Daleks is no Dare the Triffids, is
You
it?
can get.
Come
well,
on.
you say that. So it's very fine. You know, a lot of the Doctor Who episodes are written up as books. Mm-hmm. And it's...
Someone's got time on their hands.
I love it.
See,
I know
we
you do.
misfired with World Book Day with my son. He went dressed as Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. It just wasn't appropriate. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know why
No,
we did
if
that.
I had a kid, I'd say Andy McNabb, Balaclava.
Oh, that's a
Cheap,
really
easy.
easy one. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Pops
If I
your
had a
army
kid-
and
Lawrence
navy
of Arabia,
stores.
tea towel.
I do have a kid, but if he was old enough for World Book Day, I think I'd say to him, I'll tell you what, let's not worry too much about the dressing up. What about you read a book for World Book Day?
That really should be the movement.
What
that
they've done here is they thought, well,
veers
obviously kids, they're
towards.
not going to read a book. What about dressing up as a sort of a second base?
Do you think
for that?
twins go as a horse from a Dick Francis novel?
That'd be excellent.
Oh.
If you
There's
had-
horses in other. I mean, Black Beauty, Anna Sewell.
There's a lot of horses in Dick
I tell
Francis'
you-
work.
Oh God!
I tell you what would be excellent. You may be familiar with the historian Lucy Worsley.
Of course.
She wrote a book called Courtiers, Frank. I don't know if you can see where I'm going with this. But in Courtiers, described is a character with bushy hair and a roving look in his eye who liked to eat raw onions. So you could actually go as Peter the Wild.
Oh,
You'd have to be naked.
I think you have to be recognisable, though, don't you? You see, I like to choose my outfits for anything on what looks good on me. Start there. Start with me.
Really?
I suit an eye patch. So I'm thinking, you know, Rooster Cogburn, Pirate, that maybe that one from Kill Bill, the Daryl Hannah
yeah.
Oh, yes.
character. Maybe even in sexy nurse mode, you know, when she has the Red Cross eye patch.
Oh, yeah, you'd suit that.
Obviously, if it was a standard fancy dress party, I'd go for former Israeli Prime Minister Moshe Dayan, but he's not fictional.
No.
He doesn't fit in with World Book Day at all. I'm sure he wrote a book, but I imagine there was lots of it missing because you can't judge distance with one eye. So a lot of the time he was right, it wasn't quite reaching the paper. But yeah, I actually, if anyone's got any advice on any other eye patch-based characters I could do... I don't mean generic pirate. I mean, it's got to be a person. You see, I'd love to do Long John Silver. I mean, it doesn't get much
do you know,
better.
I can see
but
you
he
as
doesn't.
that.
He doesn't. It's a myth. You see some people do him with an eye patch. In the book, he doesn't have leg missing, but parrot, yes. Eye patch, no. That's the things to say when you're going to be Long John Silver. One leg, one parrot, eye patch, no.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We're going to email corner, I think, Frank.
Do you want the jingle?
Do you know what? I
Up
would
to you.
actually quite like it.
It's nice, isn't it? It's
That's
just
no
nice.
way to go about
I
it.
have to go searching. Here we go.
Gives the show a bit of uniformity.
Email corner. There it is.
We have an email here.
If it were done, 'tis best 'twere
We're
done,
done quickly. Hi all, I listen to the podcast every week. I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure. There's a bit of panic already that she's going to say it's a guilty pain.
I don't even want to be in that Venn diagram
I
with
wouldn't
those
call it a
words.
guilty pleasure,
Well, I wouldn't
But
mind being in one with pleasure.
but I'm
Guilty
not.
pleasure is.
But I'm not sure I'd tell my peer group I listen. I can just.
Tell me about
I can
it.
already
Blimey.
sense that this is a young person because
How old
there's
is this
several
person?
exclamation marks after all. Hi, all.
Okay.
I think her spelling's too good to be a young person, but anyway,
Well.
carry on.
How old is...
She reveals later she's
Okay.
24 years old. But
not young.
but she wouldn't tell her peer
lovely.
group. I think we've got many 24-year-old listeners. Many. I wouldn't
Do
be
you?
surprised if...
I think we've got 8.
I wouldn't be surprised if they text in now. The place will
I've
go
had a
bananas.
21-year-old before.
I think we've
Switchboard.
got 8.
You've had it.
If I remember rightly, looking at statistics, 3 of them are in a coma and they're only hearing the shows as a method of trying to wake them up and it's by the families.
Well, let's crack on and see if we can help there. I wouldn't
Hey,
tell.
cop!
I wouldn't tell my peer group I listened. Sorry about that. No explanation, just an apology.
No, it's
anyway,
all right.
like Frank, I love all things Merlin, and every time you mention it, I feel it affirms me as a Merlin
She's
lover.
won me over.
Just wanted to say thanks, as I am often the subject of much ridicule for my addiction to anything on television that relates to Merlin and King Arthur times. Keep
Merlin
spreading
and
the-
King Arthur time seems to be putting Merlin and King Arthur in the same bracket as Chico
It's Chico time.
Yeah.
It's Merlin time.
or MC Hammer.
Yeah.
Stop.
Okay.
Hammer time.
Excellent.
Keep spreading the good word. Love Kirsty, 24 years old, Ayr, AYR, Ayr in Scotland,
Ayr.
which I worked in for
did you?
a couple of summers.
So let me get this right. There are people from Ayr who don't think I'm cool enough. Struth.
Yep.
Truth.
Yeah.
Struth.
Paul Hogan on Absolute Radio this morning.
You bludger. It's all right, that's clean, because Alf used to say it on Home and Away. So.
I think that's
did.
true, yeah.
What else in Email Corner?
This is from Lynn O'Connor. In the 1980s, I remember being a voluntary worker with Frank at this cinema. We'll get to which cinema we're talking
Yeah.
about. Him selling
It
tickets.
isn't the kind of cinema you're all thinking. It's
No.
very... Yes.
Him selling tickets and me tearing them at the door.
Ah.
When we got chatting, Frank said that he was thinking about his stage name and wanted it to show his Brummie roots, so had thought up Tommy Tiptree or Harry Harborn.
Tommy Tipton.
Oh, she's called it Tiptree.
That's all right.
Oh.
Tommy Tipton
Sorry,
and Harry
Lynn.
Harborn, yeah, basically.
Lynn O'Connor, but, you know.
Been a long time, though, hasn't it?
And Des is not easy to live with, in
No.
fairness.
How lovely to hear from Lynn
So,
O'Connor.
where was it again you worked, Frank? What was the
I
name
worked,
of
Do you
can I
remember,
say I also toyed with the idea of Where's Bromwich?
it? I'm so glad you didn't
I worked
do
at a
that.
place called the Triangle in Gloucester Green, Birmingham. It was an art house cinema. We were paid in art.
Were you?
Because what they used to do is they used to pay us in tickets to see the films.
Oh,
Didn't get the
lovely.
money. So I saw films I would never... It was a very educational period. I remember seeing a 4-hour Russian documentary with subtitles in which virtually every person interviewed wore a white shirt. So
Wow.
the subtitles were completely unreadable. No one had thought, hold on a minute. But anyway, so it was happy times, though, I must say. That was... I also... I must have told you this story, that a woman came in and... came up to the box office and she went in and I thought, God, I really liked her. And I had to go home. She was watching a long film. So I wrote her a letter saying, I just thought, you know, you looked amazing. I'd like to meet you and I'll be in so-and-so art gallery tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And she turned up.
Wow.
But the next time I asked her back to my bedsit. And in so keen to impress her, I bought my first ever French stick.
Oh.
And she didn't turn up for that.
Oh, God.
So you can imagine, having invested in a French stick, I felt like rubbish. But still, we're still in Email Corner.
Well, yes, I was going to say we were going to say it together. That was very embarrassing.
I'm happy to try and say it together.
All
Shall
of
we
us.
do it?
Harmony.
Do you want to give us a count?
Ebony and Ivory. Come on.
3, 2, 1.
We're still in Email Corner.
Was I meant to join
Sounded
in?
like that Hitchhiker's
No.
Guide to the Galaxy character.
You were,
Awful.
you were the counter in, that's fine.
Oh, good.
You
Why
did it
didn't
all.
he?
yeah.
Why couldn't he join in the
I
triumvirate?
felt a bit like the drummer hitting his sticks together. You know when they do that at the start of a song?
Yeah.
I love that. I love it when you see
I
a band
felt
live and
your
they do
role
that.
in
I
that
really
was a
love
bit
it.
Craig from Bros.
Yeah.
We were the Gosses.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
So where
we've
does this
also-
leave us?
We've actually had a few texts in that I'd like to briefly sashay towards because you were mentioning the eye patches. One of my favourite texts that we've ever received, I think, was pirates used to wear eye patches as a night vision aid. How about that? No, that's all it says.
That can't be correct, can it?
I think that's. I think that might be true. Like, I think looking with both eyes, perhaps you'd see more darkness in a weird way.
No.
Cover up one.
I
do
tell you
you think
what.
that's true?
I tell you what I think. Now I think about it, I reckon that if you've got a good eye and you wear an eye patch on it, that if you're suddenly in darkness and you raise that eye patch, that retina is already accustomed to the dark.
Oh.
Like
you
being in a cinema.
So you don't get your readjustment period. You're straight in. So that when the let's say it's the Marquis of Bath passing on a large luxury cruiser.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it sound like Jane McDonald.
Then he's struggling to get his night vision together. It takes 30 seconds. Meantime, he's been hacked to pieces.
Yeah.
By
You got a head start on him on the Marquis of Bath, and I was like a head start on the Marquis of Bath.
yeah, it's very wise. So that's interesting, though.
I like that. Yeah, so we can sashay back into email corner.
I was
should you
thinking
wish.
I could have been, Odin. See, it's difficult this because in the comics, Odin doesn't normally wear that eye patch. He didn't when I read Thor comics. But in the film,
I don't know Odin.
Anthony Hopkins, he wears like actually, speaking of the clip frame, it looks like one of the metal things from a clip frame, just clutching one eye.
Oh yeah.
I can just wear an eye patch if I want to. I don't need a literary model to do it.
Dan from Worcester. Hi all, I'm a 25-year-old listener, if that still counts. I'm consciously listening
See?
and enjoying your show. However, I am at work, so in comparison to work, I'd enjoy pretty much anything.
They pick you up, they knock you down.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've been deluged with missives from our younger demographic. They do listen, Frank.
Indeed.
You see?
Just wondering if you cared, but I'm a 14-year-old listener, and 2 other of my friends listen to this radio station too.
Fabulous.
That's from Ashwari.
And I know, who's that from?
Ashwari.
I found about halfway through that the voice broke and then went back again.
Dear Absolute Radio, I'm a 26-year-old listener and I regard Absolute Radio as my cool, in inverted commas, listening, as I normally listen to Radio 4 and have Absolute Radio on Saturdays for a treat.
Oh,
it's
lovely.
only just dawned on me that maybe my peers are not doing this.
That's it, the weekends, eh?
Yeah.
When weekends were special. Before
from-
mass unemployment.
That's from Rhiannon, 26. And we've also had various missives about the eye patch question.
What I like is
the eye patch question. What happened to this show?
Speaking of cool radio, if you're Radio 1, they're probably discussing the iPad. Here we're discussing the eye patch. That's the difference.
The eye patch question.
Now here's a great text.
I was saying, in case you've just tuned in, because some people, they come in for Mark Crossley and they catch the end of it, the way one used to catch the end of Tomorrow's World when one tuned in for Top of the Pops.
Is that what we are? We're tomorrow's world, aren't we?
We are.
Oh,
Well,
God.
in many ways, we're yesterday's world.
Oh, God.
But I was just saying that I suit an eye patch, and I was looking for some people I could fancy dress up as that would allow me to cash in on that.
Which then became a discussion about the effectiveness of the eye patch for night vision
Yes.
amongst the pirate community.
That was Frank. That's Frank's theorem as well, which I thought was a good theorem.
Which, as you were saying it, somebody texted in saying Mythbusters proved it. Frank got it. So your theory
You
that
see?
they kept the eye dark and then they quickly adjusted.
It makes
was,
absolute sense.
Yeah, which is not the same.
Absolute
for,
sense. I don't know if you know, is our new channel.
Common sense channel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a fucking word. They should
what
use
is
me.
that?
My voice is quite good for common
No,
sense.
Oh, well, no, you are Mr. No Nonsense.
it's-
Magnus Pike presents that. 819, though. Hi, gang. Dennis here, a firefighter from London.
Madness Spike, I think it is.
Hi, Dennis.
A firefighter.
Yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah, he sounds great, doesn't he?
I'll look you up sometime. Pirates used to wear eye patches so that when they boarded other ships, they could fight beneath deck. They would enter below and swap the patch over. I don't understand that.
No,
Do
I
you?
don't know what. So they could. They lived a double life, upstairs, downstairs.
So they'd go in on the dark bit of the boat,
Yeah.
and by swapping the patch over, the eye that has been in the dark is adjusted.
So we're still talking about... He's on about night
I thought he
attacks.
meant that you'd be rendered unrecognisable by the swapping of the eye patch. Was it David Bowie?
When
I
Spider-Man
thought-
puts his glasses on.
I thought
David Bowie set
someone below deck would say, God, there's even more of them. There's look, here's another. He said, bloke, it looks a bit like the other one, but his eye got a different bad eye.
And even then, that one seems like common sense compared to 870, who has texted, pirates wear an eye patch because the parrot on their shoulder pecks at their eyeball.
That could happen. It could be
I
protection.
don't think that's why. I really don't.
That's an urban myth.
What they need is a
Urban myth.
They need a
How's that an
perspection.
urban myth? It's just
You
a
hear
guy
that
said something
everywhere.
silly.
They're always on about that.
Every time you
Urban
go
myths
out.
from pirate era.
What they need is a sort of you know the way in a cab you get that perspex in between the driver and the
Yeah.
passenger, because the parrot is essentially the passenger
Yeah.
in that settle. He should have a perspex face shield down there. What about those big loopy earrings that pirates wear? Is that for the parrot to sit on if
No,
the pirate...
that's Jenny Murray.
Is that maybe it's for the parrot to hold on to if the parrot has to run, so the parrot can put up one claw and hold on to it like you do when you're on the tube and you hold on to that loop.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was a trapeze thing for the parrot.
No,
Lovely.
I think that's a little
They're
just
running,
to
they just
steady.
put a hand
Just
on
put
it.
one claw on there so they can.
Oh, yeah.
That
They're-
gives it a bit of
It's
a
their
sway.
form of what I believe is called a strap handle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
I believe so. Well, that might be something else.
Yeah, I'll check with my friends in the S&M community about that. But I think we've got to the bottom of the pirate eye patch.
Oh, I should think so.
But who knows? I'm happy to hear more.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, lots of pirate text still coming in.
Good.
On
We thought
81215.
we'd sorted it, didn't we? We
No,
thought it was done.
850. Hi, Frank and Co. The pirate's earring was to buy him a Christian burial if he was killed abroad.
Oh, I thought that
film.
was gold teeth.
No.
Okay.
They wear an eye
Is that why
patch.
you got them?
Yeah, so I could get a Christian burial when I was abroad.
Oh.
It's not easy nowadays.
No.
They wear an eye patch because they are half cut and can only see out of one eye. I like the phrase half cut, and I just feel
I'll
like
tell
it
you-
should be brought back.
I'll tell you something now on the subject of drunkenness and the eye patch. Is that I remember on occasions I getting so drunk that I got double vision. And I mean proper, I don't mean one slightly ghost image, I mean two absolutely clear images of the same thing. And the only way you could cope with it was to put hand over one eye
Oh,
to
yeah.
stop it. So an eye patch would be good in that.
In your drinking days.
Yeah. An
And
eye
it's not a
patch.
lot of luggage to carry about, is it? It's not like you're
An eye patch? Hell no.
carrying heavy prep for drunkenness.
Gabrielle
is it?
managed it.
Yeah.
Well, didn't she just have a sort of a fringe, though? Did she wear an eye patch?
No, she had an eye patch.
Oh,
Full on eye patch.
Oh, I could go as her, then.
We've had an email in. This is to the three of us, but it's directed specifically at Frank. Inspired by your love of David's bum.
Yeah, we should say that this is not a David Baddiel reference. This is...
Is it
Yeah.
David Beckham?
This is...
No, I went-
Was it Donatello's David? you know?
Donatello's David in
Again, not
Florence.
Donatello Versace, but
Oh,
No,
yeah.
it's...
Renaissance artist.
It's a paint. It's a sculpture, and it's a sort of a scantily clad man with a few flowers, and
a little
I
hat,
found it
almost.
strangely fascinating. I found that it tapped into a not darker, but a different part of my
Mm-hmm.
psyche. Yes,
The love that dare not speak its name.
it's exactly.
I have to recommend Napoleon as Mars the Peacemaker in Apsley
yes.
House, London. I'm a postgraduate student in the history of art and went recently with my class. We spent a good hour stood behind him, admiring. Obligatory night's move if M ever fancies a free tour around the Courtauld galleries with a 21-year-old broke student, etc.
Well, I agree about Napoleon as Mars the Peacemaker. He has, I think I can say this on breakfast television, a very fabulous bottom.
I think you can, yeah.
Perfect. But he does have...
Has he got junk in the trunk?
I'll tell you what he has got. No, it's very...
Pert.
Yes, very John Pertwee. But what he has got is on one shoulder, he's got a pile of material. He looks like Jenny Murray, Radio 4's Jenny Murray at a fetish club. Because he's naked and then he's got this sort of weird scarf
A
on one
tapestry
shoulder.
scarf.
Yeah. Of course, if you're into sculpted buttocks, there is Venus of the Beautiful Buttocks, which is actually the name of a...
That was an Hello Hello, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, that was not that. That was the Madonna with the... Yeah, anyway,
Yes.
so... Yeah, Venus is a proper classical statue that's called that, Venus of the Beautiful Buttocks.
Well, I haven't heard this.
And
Well,
can I
I
say-
did not ask that for
Can
they
I
could make a
say,
statue
it
of me.
delivers. It does what it says on the tin. Yeah.
Having heard this, I've been keeping my eye out whilst I've been in London at the
Oh, you should get an eye
various statues to see if I see any statues with excellent bums. And I've seen a surprising number of them with long flowing cloaks and thought, I don't know
Yeah.
how Frank would feel about this. Would he be going, I love the cloak, or I'd quite like to see the bum? I don't know.
for
I don't know where
me-
you'd stand on that.
I don't used to think that I'm a bomb person. I mean, when I was talking about the David statue, it was just his general ambience. Someone else has
He has a playful look on
they've
his
made
face.
this more bottom-centric.
Yeah, and he's in the contrapposto
He's
position.
coy. He's coy.
He is coy.
Come hitherish.
Oh, God, he's come hither.
That's not Frank. Frank's a fan of the Burgers of Calais, aren't you, Frank?
I am. I passed the burgers
a
of Calais.
No.
Oh, and I know.
Is that a bust?
Even in the middle of the horse meat scandal, I'll always stop and look at the burgers of Calais. And I love it. I recommend that. It's near the Houses of Parliament. It's a Rodin. It's got a bit flash today, so it's gone a bit Radio 4. I'm sorry if there's any idiots listening who feel alienated. I can assure you we'll be back next week with lots of rubbish to talk about. Is that all right to say?
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Thank you so much for listening. Now get out.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.